Hi everyone, this is Val from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another sparkling beading video. But before I get started, here's a quick reminder to check out our channel, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and notification bell to be notified every time we have a new listing. Our project today is inspired by our collection of the Serene Lavender, and I'm going to kind of try to make this lavender bead embroidery sort of design. I'm going to make a brooch with it. Now my friend Nishka, she went to the to a farmer's market one day, and she was so inspired by the lavender that she actually went home and just kind of fiddled with some beads and made this. And I thought it was so cute. I wanted to try to make one too. The supplies from our Serene Lavender collection. We have this green seed bead. It's 11.0. We have a really soft lavender in 11.0 and a really like a more of a metallic purple. It's really pretty, kind of electric purple. And this is also 11.0. We have a mix of crystal in some various sizes. We have these really bright and pretty bugle beads. And then we have some fun beads. We have some drops, some little teardrop beads, and some Zoli duals. And we have some rhinestone chain. I'm going to try to fit this in somewhere. Not in our collection, but I might be using also is like a few other kind of beads that I might have. And this is kind of what she had in hers. So I kind of want to take that same kind of idea of color, and I might add something soft in there as well. So other supplies we'll be needing are, I'm going to be using an 11.0 beading needle and a long needle, some 8-pound fire line and clear. You'll also need some suede like this, some soft suede. Oh, and also a pen or pencil for drawing. So I started off my project by just quickly sketching some stems of where I want to put my lavender stems. I just used my pen. You could also use a pencil. Then I tied a knot with my thread and left about 1 inch on the back. And I used about 2 yards of fire line in an 8-pound. You could use more or less. It's really up to you, whatever you feel comfortable using. So I'm going to start off with 2 of my little bugle beads. This is a really pretty, kind of a grassy green. It's really nice. And I'm going to just lay it right above where my thread is coming from, and just lay it right in the stem that I'm going to be working with, which is the center stem. I'm going to start to sew back into my suede. And then I'm going to come back up right above that bead. And don't forget to do that. This is very important, because if not, you start to add your beads to the back of your project, which I have done many times. Okay, so just pull your thread out, and now you're going to pick up 2 more bugle beads and just pull your thread out completely. So it's right here. Lay it onto the stem, of course, that you're going to be working with, and sew back into your suede. Pull your thread out and then come back up. And working with 2 bugle beads at a time make it a little easier to control how your stem is, and then you won't have too many loose beads, so your project stays pretty nice and tight. And don't worry about it if it looks like this right now. It's a little loose. We're going to take care of that in a little bit, and just keep sewing down my suede here. And pick up 2. So it's always important to hold your beads down. And now we're going to just sew that last one in. So here's my first stem. So now to make it a little bit straighter, we're just going to come back up through the suede. Pull your line all the way out, and once your line is coming back up to the top, just sew through all of the bugle beads you just sewed down. I just stopped at that point because that's all my needle went through, and I just pulled my thread out, and I'm just going to sew through the balance of them. There we go. So now you see how it was really crooked earlier. Now it straightened it up a little bit more, and you don't have to worry about the little gaps in between, because these are just stems, however, and so we'll just be working with it just as it comes along. It's kind of a free form project, and that's kind of the fun thing about it. So I'm just going to sew back into my suede and come back up. And just right onto the side of there. See right here, I'm just sewing right back up here. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 more bugle beads. I'm just going to show you how to start the next stem. So right here, lay it here, and you can either go right next. I'm going to go to the side of it first, and then later I'll work in between. So lay it down, hold your beads, sew back through your suede. Come back up. Pick up 2 more beads, just like this, and sew back down. All right, there we go. So I'm going to continue working on all of my stems, and when I'm done with them, I'll be back. But I wanted to remind you is when you get to the top up here, to come back up through your suede and sew all the way down. And think of it, this is going to be sort of your freeway. So you're going to be going up and down because we're going to be adding in our little pieces in a little bit later. Okay, so I'll come back when I have all my stems ready. I'm ready to start my lavender flowers, and you notice that these are the stems I made earlier. So I did 5 different stemmings. You can do more or less or closer together. You can either have them all the same height or various heights. So to give me inspiration on my lavender flowers, I have this Bead Relax satchel here, and this is really pretty because it gives me this nice scent of lavender so I can be relaxed for one, and the second is it gives me this feel of that I'm in a lavender field, and it's really pretty. Also, I forgot to mention earlier this pretty purple. It's kind of a soft smoky purple that's also in our collection. So right now I'm going to start off with the beads that are in our collection because I want to use that first, and I'm going to start off with this darkest color, which is that metallic purple. I'm going to just pour a little bit of that down. Needle up through some of our stems right up here because I want to keep some of my stems open. So from here I'm going to start building on my lavender flowers. So just pick up a few of these at a time. Probably going to start off with maybe, let's say, 5 or 6 at a shot. And just bring this to the base of your thread. And you can loosely just give it a little stitch. I'm going to go a little bit further away from my stem, just a little bit. Just like this. So it's a little loose. Kind of reminds me of a little purple caterpillar. I mean, right where I sewed it into the suede, I'm going to come out just right next to it over. Pull my line tight. I think I have a knot in my thread. There we go. Okay, so I loosened my thread there. I picked up 6 again. And just a little bit of ways again. You don't want to go to the top. You want to give it a little bit of a slack. So just go right about here, just next between the top 2 beads. And just sew into your fabric and then come up to the side again. Let's just continue to pick up the 6 of 5, 6. And I chose the darkest color to work in the center because it's the strongest point of my lavender. That one I ended up going a little bit tight there, but it's okay. We're gonna wing it. So this is really just a really fun freeform project. You can be very detailed and tailored if you want, but I just kind of like to just let the beads and my hands just kind of do what they want to do. So I sewed in 2, and now I'm just going to come back up. Now I want to make sure that I don't go exactly to the very top because I want to leave a little bit of space for cutting and for when I do my base. So I'm going to end up about right over here. So I'm going to give this a little curve and just sew down. So it's just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sew back into this bead just to lock it in place. So now I'm going to start this other side here. I'm going to pick up 7 of these beads. So 7. I want to look at this point where I want it to go. So basically I'm going to come down and sew right onto this side. So I'm going to sew right here. And just sew right down into your suede. So as you see it's a little overlapping and it's a little bit of a loop. So I'm going to come out right in between these 2 beads, these 2 sections, come right in between. Pull your line out and then pick up another 7 or 8, either way. You just kind of want to give it enough of a loop. So I'm just going to keep pulling 7 for myself. And then just sew right in between the next 2 sections, right down here. So by sewing down into it, kind of gives you that look that it's sort of almost braided with your petals of your little lavenders. So sew right in between and then come out from in between these 2 petals, in between these 2 rows of beads. Just like this, and then pick up another 7. And then sew right in between, just like that. Just like this, you see it? And then come in between again. So right in between these 2. So every time you come up through your suede, you want to pull your line tight. Just stitch it down in between again. And then just stitch right below the last of your flowers. All right, so here we go. Here's the first side of our lavender. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, but I think I'm just going to go one time, but I might do more than once. So I'm going to bring my line now over to this side, right on the opposite side of my stem. And now we're going to pick up 6 of our, actually I think I'm going to pick up 7. So now I'm getting ready to add more of these dark purple onto the sides. So I just trailed my line down from my bead that ended up here, and I just trailed the line down through the green beads. And now I'm going to sew up through 2 of these bugle beads. Make sure that's tight. And now I'm going to pick up 6 of these purple beads. I'm going to do the same thing we did earlier. So I'm just going to show you again. So I just have 6 beads, and I'm going to just stitch it just a little ways up. I want to give it a little looseness, not too tight, just like this. And then I'm going to sew up through the cloth again, through the suede rather, and pick up 6 more beads. So I'm going to continue this step as what I did on this one. I'm going to continue on this branch and this branch. So I have my first of my 3 dark stems of lavender, and now I want to work with the 2 other stems. So I started with a new piece of line because my other line was getting short, and I just came up through this one, through the suede right between these 2 bugles here. I'm going to start off with a mix palette here. So I mixed together the smoky darker purple along with the light kind of a lavender purple blue. So I'm going to pick up one color at a time. I'm going to just try it and see how I like it. I'm going to do 10 altogether of one color. Then I want to sew it. So if my line is coming out from here, I just want to sew it across the way. But yet I don't want it to be too tight and straight. I want it kind of look like it has a little bit of an arch. So I'm going to give it some slack of space. It kind of looks like a little inchworm there. And then I'm going to go and start the next one. So I'm going to sew across again, right coming out from here. Pick up 10 more of the same, kind of right between that next bugle bead up there. So again, another inchworm. And then go from under and up, right here. Pull your line tight out and then pull up 10 more. Pick up 10 more of the seed beads. We're just going to stop about right, just a little bit above. You kind of want to have all different heights of lavender. Right, there we go. So we have these 3 here. So now I want to start with my next color. So I'm just going to come a little bit higher. Come out a little bit higher there, pull out my line. Oops. And now I'm going to pick up some of these lighter color. But I'm not exactly sure how many I want yet, so I'm going to just pick up a bunch and we're going to test to see. So I'm just going to lay it over my project and take a look to see. Yeah, that looks about right. So I just want it to be about the same length. Ending up about similar area to where this color is going, where this color is laying over. So now I'm just going to sew it under, like just sew underneath it, but not into this way. See how it's kind of just swirling around. And I'm going to wrap it through one more time because I want it to be actually in between, just swirling along with it. There you go. I want to pull it tight, and I want to kind of see where it lays as well. So it's looking like it lays right there. So I'm going to actually just keep stringing a little bit more of this because I think instead of sewing through the fabric, I can actually just swirl between the smoky purple beads. So you see like this. I'm not really counting at this point. I'm going to guess I'm going to have about 12 on here for now. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around this section here. So go under and out. And go around. See how it's swirling? It's kind of fun. So from here, I'm just going to kind of push it a little bit right here. And just stitch it into the fabric. So it's just like this. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other stem. So now I want to add a little bit of pops of color in some of the spaces. So I have this matte, kind of a deep slate blue. This one's not in the collection, but I kind of liked how it added to the shading of the purple. So I just have my line coming out from the space right here between the 2 bugle beads areas, and then I'm just going to string up, let's see, maybe 6 of them. I just want to swirl little bits here and there in between this lighter shade. So I'm just going to sew right into a section of the earlier colors of that soft blue, purple, and that matte blue purple. And I kind of think it's pretty in there. And I'm going to come out right here, right on the side of the bugle bead on the other end. Pull up my line. And do another set of 6. And just sew right underneath this purple. And it really is just really free form. See how that's coming along? You see how it gives it that nice little pop. So I'm just going to come out again with my needle right between here. See the needle? And then string up some more. Then I guess I'll sew right in between that empty spot right there. And then sew up right here between this empty spot. And then come across these beads up to right about here. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this opposite side. So our lavender is starting to take shape, and I want to add in one last color, and this is a nice opaque blue. It almost has a little hint of purple in it. It's not in our collection, but we do have it on our website at eurekacrystalbeads.com. And now I want to bring my line back down to the bottom, because I'm actually going to add this just to the bottom. So if you can put it through the bugle beads and let it trail all the way down your line, that would be great. Think of your bugle beads as your superhighway, but if not, you can just stitch back and forth all the way down to get to the base. So I'm just going to add the little darker colors right about here, just kind of in between here and there, just a little bit of beads. I'm going to pick up 6. So my line is coming out from here. I think I'm just going to make a little stitch going up. And then on the opposite side of this bugle bead on this first section, sew up about halfway between the blue and pick up another 6 beads. And just stitch a little lower than the first batch, just like that. And then one more right between, so I'm going to pull this one back a little bit and stitch right here. So on the inner side of my bugle bead. I don't know if I want to bring it up here or bring it across. So let me see. I think I'll run it across. Oh, no. Change my mind. I'm going to go right in between the 2 that I already did. Okay. Now it just kind of looks like this. So it's kind of like a little cluster of 3. Just going to run a stitch right through the suede just to make sure I lock that 3 in there. And then I'm going to go back down and sew and come up a little bit more. I'm going to run 2 more of those same colors right in here and here. So here is the area that I just added on with that brighter color bead. And so now I want to start adding in some fun shapes. I have some bicones and I have those Zoli Dual and the little drop beads. So I have to decide where I want to put them. So my friend's piece, she has them coming out from here along with these Preciosa teardrops in cobalt, which are really gorgeous, but I don't have any of those. So I want to add in a bunch of these little Zoli Duals and these teardrops and some of these bicones. But I think there's so many cute little small ones. I want to try adding in the tiny bicones. So let's see. I think I'm going to add those little ones to this lighter color because it's kind of similar color, and I think it's going to add some nice texture. So I'm just going to come up with my needle right over here next to a light color. I'm just going to stitch this, string it up, and stitch it right back into the fabric right next to where my needle came up from. and just sew up right above it, and pick up another of that similar color and sew back down right next to just maybe about a 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch right next to it. And each time you want to kind of pull your line tight. Let's do that again. So now you see how it's starting to look right here? It adds like a nice little sparkle to it. Now that I'm next to this darker one, I'm going to try to pick up one that's a little warmer in color. I don't know that I like that, but oh yeah, I like that. That's cute. So I was doing some research and I found out that there are over 450 varieties of lavender. And I've been to a lavender farm before, which when I went to the lavender farm, I absolutely fell in love with lavender. So much that I had lavender everything. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to top this off with, let's see if it looks better with a drop or a Zoli dual. So here is a Zoli dual. And here is a light drop. Light drop, and let's try the dark drop. I think let's go with the dark drop. So string up one of these, and actually I'm going to go just a little bit lower because I want to be able to anchor that drop in a little bit more. So I want to give it more surrounding of beads. So just string that up. Hold it down while we pull out our line. Sorry. Just see it like this. And now I'm just going to sew down back into the material, into the suede, and pull that tight. Look how cute that little drop looks now. And then right above that, I think I'm going to add one more of these bicones just to kind of give it a nice little topper. Okay, so it looks just like this. Now I think I'm going to add in this little Zoli dual. So let's see. That looks cute. I'm going to just tack that down. It's kind of cute, just like this. And make sure that that's nice and tight. So I'm actually going to sew back through it from the opposite direction. So I'm just going to, where my needle came up and went down, I'm going to come back up right next to it and pull it tight and sew through it one more time. Okay, so now it's nice and secure. So now I just have to decide where else I want to add, because I really think that these cute little shapes, these different shapes, they add a lot of nice texture to the design. So right in between here, I think I can add something. So I'm just going to sew right in between the spaces there. And let's see, I'm going to add in a bicone. So similar color, I think that might be pretty, even though it's a similar color. It's going to add that little bit of sparkle to make it a little, just give it that nice texture, but yet a nice sparkle at the same time. So I'm just going to sew back into just some empty spaces and choose another one. So because it's a smaller area, I'm going to use a smaller bead. And just sew right back into the fabric. And now with the small space, I can add another one of these really cool teardrops. Pretty much just going with the flow. Cool, right? So after I added these on, I'm gonna just go ahead and just start adding in some of the specialty little fun shapes all in between. And I'll be back when I'm done. So now I'm ready to add in some more green area to this, because I want to lift this part up. Since this lavender area started to get a little much larger than the stemming, I want to add more to the stem. So my line is coming out right from here. I'm going to add in more of these bugle beads. So 2 at a time always makes it easier. So just lay it on the suede and just stitch down right above it. So I've cut all around as close as I can to the beading. I just took a scissors and I just cut. You want to just make sure you try to get as close as you can without the stitching, without cutting through your stitching. And what I did now with this suede is I sewed on a pin back, and now I'm going to add some glue to the project. So I'm just going to use some paper cement. You could try, any glue that you like that works for you. And you just want to put some glue around the edges. It doesn't have to be on the very edge because you are going to stitch around it still. But I'm just going to put some glue just to kind of hold down these 2 pieces of suede together. Okay. And then I'm just going to place it right on top of my piece. So once you get on your piece, you can kind of squish it together just so that all of the pieces of the suede, the 2 layers of suede, can kind of squish together. Kind of mush. All right. So now I'm just going to let this sit here and dry. Once it's dry, after several hours, I will take a scissors and just trim around all the edges of the suede as well as the second layer of suede. Okay, so I'll be back as soon as I have that ready to go. So once you have your piece glued together and you trim off your excess of your base layer, you're going to start sewing in some beads around the edging, just around here. So I'm going to start off with my thread. I have 1.5 yards of thread, and I knotted one line on one end, and then I'm just going to sew in between the layers because I don't want the knot to show on the back side. Then I'm going to just take 1 stitch up and down. Then I'm going to start sewing some green seed beads because I have green over here. So right from here, I'm going to sew into my fabric and pull out my line. Just like this. And when I do that, it's coming from the base to the top, my seed bead is going to sit right there on the side and cover up the edging. So just stitch about a bead span away and pull tight. And now I'm going to add a bugle bead. Just kind of measure that space. See right there? So it's kind of covering your space right there. I'm going to do one more. Actually, I'm going to do a seed bead in between. Oh, I think we'll just do seed beads now. Because it's a very free-form piece, every piece will be a little different about where you're putting what. I think you just go with the flow, and like I said earlier, just let the beads and your needle and thread just take you to where you need to go. So now we have all the beads all around, sewn all around our project, and originally I wanted to use this rhinestone chain. So I decided that it would make a really cute bow. So I think if you just kind of make it like a pretzel, it's rhinestone chain, so it is a little stiffer than if you were to use, as opposed to using ribbon. But I think it might be kind of fun. It doesn't have to be like a perfect bow. So if you just make a loose bow, sort of like a pretzel, like one side over the top and one end over the bottom, and then let's just lay it over our little lavender, our Serene Lavender bouquet. So I'm just going to tack it down kind of right next to where the thread came out. And as I pull my thread, I want to just make sure that I am catching the rhinestones. So pull your thread as tight as you can, and then kind of rearrange your loop so that you try to have the pretty side up. I'm going to take one more stitch to that, just because I know it's not quite where I need, as strong as you need it to be. So you want to stitch that a couple times. How cute is that? And now, okay, just give your thread a tug. I'm going to come up one more time, and I think I'm going to add a couple of these seed beads just because I think it's going to kind of give it a little finished look to it. I have a little bit left of these brighter metallic ones, so I think I'm going to use this. Okay, 4 looks like it should work. Now I'm just going to string up these 4 and stitch it right down again. One more time, just to give it a little bit more definition, I think. And sometimes projects kind of grow as it goes along, as you're making it. Your original design may turn out to something like this. Like this was originally my first design, and I wasn't too sure that I really liked it, so I did this design. Then after I came back to this one, and I don't know that I like one or the other better at this moment, but I think I kind of like how they both just kind of grew into its own design, and I think each little bush of our little bouquet of my Serene Lavender is going to be different, and I think that's kind of fun. Here we go. All right, so now I'm just going to cut off my excess, and it's okay that I have this little stitching in the back. If that bothers you, then you can add a little bit of a piece of like a little flower on there, or you can stitch something on there as well if you like. That would be perfectly fine too. And then I'm just going to come back up to the front because I don't want that knot just to be really over there too much. So I'm going to pull my line all the way up back to the front, and the knot kind of has gone down a little bit. Now you want to trim off your edges, off your ends, and here you go. If your rhinestones aren't really laying right because they're slightly malleable, if you're gentle, you can slightly turn them, and the wire, because it's metal on the back, like metal wiring, it will help hold it in place. But here is my Serene Lavender bouquet, and I hope you enjoyed this project, and all the supplies we use in this tutorial are listed in the comment section below, and all the supplies are on EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Thanks for joining us.